Welcome to episode 433 of the DFO Rundown. As always, brought to you by Bet365. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Get in the game. Use the promo code NATION, NATION, to get in on a range of games. That is Bet365. I am Jason Gregor. We welcome in Jeff Marek. Jeffrey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I have a question. I have a question. Did you do your homework? Because I'm really curious. Has anyone ever had the double Gordie that you and Rupper were talking about on the last podcast? No, the answer is no. There's never been. So just so everyone has context here, the double Gordie is 2 goals, 2 assists, 2 fights. The double Gordie. And you're saying no, It's never happened?
Yeah, I looked it up, researched it, double checked it with my NHL stat guys, and no player has ever done 2-2-2. Now, we've had 4 cases of players having 6 points while having a fight, right? So they had, in a few cases, 3 goals, 3 assists, and a fight. Stan Mikita did it once, of all people. But no one has ever had 2 fights, 2 goals, 2 assists. And I'm telling you, if somebody would have told Josh Manson that, I think he might have went out there and fought. Like, I remember...
I agree.
Yeah, he totally would have. Like Bob Probert, remember when Bob had 29 goals and 300 and he ended up getting, I think he finished with 398 in penalty minutes. Had he scored, he said he would have went out on the next faceoff and just punched a guy with his glove on to get a roughing penalty, so he would have got 400 penalty minutes.
There used to be a time we can get bonuses for penalty minutes. Brad May told me a hilarious story. He was playing with the Buffalo Sabres, and he had a bonus. I want to say for hitting 300 PIMs. It was like $15,000 if you got 300 PIMs.
Yeah,
and I can't remember who the official was that he told me, but Mayday said he was doing whatever he could to try to get like a misconduct so he could get his bonus. But the referee knew that he had a bonus. And Mayday said, I was screaming at him, yelling at him, swearing at him, cussing at him, doing everything. And this official just kept looking at me saying, I'm not going to do it for you, Brad. I'm not going to do it for you, Brad. If you're going to get it, you're going to have to earn it. I'm not going to do it for you, Brad. But what a time that must have been. Hey, like, and we grew up in that, Jason, where you would get bonuses for penalty minutes. Think about the logic of that for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, well, it wasn't massive money, but, I guess they look at it. It was a way to keep everybody on your roster because you can't just do bonuses, 20, 30, 40 goals. Half your roster's never hit one.
So Zach Phillips, who's in for Pat today, is producing the program. On the sheet, was it last week or the week before? We were trying to figure out what would the goalie Gordie be? Like, we've seen a goal, and if the goalie gets an assist, does he have to have the fight, or would a shutout suffice?
Shutout. Yeah.
That would be the goalie Gordie?
For sure.
And we'd have to come up with a different name for it as well.
Yeah.
But essentially.
Well, that's funny about the Gordie Howe. Yeah, like the Gordie Howe hat trick, he either had 0 or 1 Gordie Howe hat tricks in his career, which is funny. Did he have 2?
2. And the only reason I know that is because this was something that I was sort of sideways involved in. So Paul Patsku, to me, is the greatest hockey researcher that's ever lived. All the great hockey documentaries you've seen, look at the end credits, Paul Patsku's name is usually always there. So this is during the lockout of 204, 205. We wanted to pitch a show called Hockey Mythbusters and just go through like all the things that we've been told that weren't actually true. And one of the things that we wondered about was the Gordie Howe hat trick and how many Gordie actually had. I think in his career, it was only documented that there were 22 fights between NHL and WHA as well, 22 actual fights. And there were only 2 Gordie Howe hat tricks with the goal, the fight, and the assist. Because Paul went through, this is how bored we were, and bless Paul for this. He went through all of Gordie Howe's game sheets during the lockout to try to find, right? So he spent like hours and
That's a lot of game sheets, dude. That's like
at the hockey. I guess it would have been at the Hall of Fame Resource Center doing that. Anyway, and he wasn't the first. By the way, the first to do it was a guy by the name of Harry Cameron, who did it in 1917. He was the first to get what we later found out was called the Gordie Howe hat trick. Should be the Harry Cameron hat trick, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, he's not as memorable as Gordie Howe, right? Wasn't as impactful. So I get it, right? Different time. No one probably even thought about it, but yeah, the goalie one would be unique. Now, There's a lot of teams here we can discuss, but let's start with the New Jersey Devils and the Dougie Hamilton saga here, because hey, he's got a no movement clause, and you know what? Like, don't get mad at a player if he vetoes a trade when you gave him the power to veto the trade. And I look at New Jersey, and on paper they should be better, but Jeff, they look dysfunctional right now. And you know what? Like, there is, hey, you know what? Do you want to waive to go to? The rumor is that they asked him to waive to go to Vancouver for Hughes. And to me, I'll just say this: unless I know I've got a deal for sure, right? That's the only time you could then go ask the guy to waive, right? And then you ask his agent, right? You don't directly go to the player, but you got to have a sense of the player's mindset on whether he wants to waive or not. Because if not, it creates animosity. Now people are like, oh, see, he's not even being a team player. Well, it's not really being a team player to say, I don't want to go there, right? The rumor is, he vetoed one to San Jose, and man, he looks at San Jose and he might be like, geez, I should have went to San Jose. They look a little bit better than New Jersey Devils right now. That celebrating kid's pretty damn good. So I just like Dougie Hamilton's a pretty good player, but this is not the first team, Jeff, that has been like, we want to get rid of Dougie Hamilton.
Yep. He's he doesn't march to the same drummer that a lot of other hockey players do. I'm not saying that pejoratively. Like, I'm not saying that as an insult at all. He's just a different guy, which I think is fine, which I think is great. Like I appreciate and embrace as many different personalities in hockey as possible. A couple of things here. I'm with you 1,000,000% on not waiving when you're asked if you don't want to. These contracts are negotiated in good faith. Generally, a no trade is given in exchange for something else, maybe taking a little bit less money, whatever it is. So I operate under the assumption that all of this is done with good faith. And the way that the CBA is structured right now, if you ask a player to waive a no trade or a no move, this is actually what you're doing. You are going to the player and you are saying, give me something in exchange for nothing. That is not a transaction. That is not a deal. That is not business. That's charity. Okay? Give me something in exchange for nothing. Now, I think all of this can be remedied, but it would mean a reopening of the CBA. Now, I don't know that you remedy it 100%, but at least you make it more transactional. And I know owners don't want money outside the system. I get it. I understand that they want all the money inside the system, but would it not make sense? And would it not save like the embarrassment of the player and the humiliation of an organization / general manager if there was a mechanism whereby you could compensate a player for waiving his no trade? Say, hey, you know what? We negotiated this in good faith, but we need you to waive it. We'd like you to waive it. And in exchange for that, there's a built-in fee. Maybe it's $1 million or $500,000 or whatever it is. You get X amount of money in exchange for agreeing to waive your no trade. Does it count against your cap? Maybe. Is it strictly money outside the system? Probably. But that would save everyone aggravation and humiliation, because right now this is a situation where there are a lot of people having a good, whack at the New Jersey Devils piñata. And if you could compensate the player for waiving the no trade, I think it would make everything go a little more smoothly. What do you think of that one, Gregor?
Well, it's an interesting one. I don't know how you implement it. I think if you're the team that gives a no, I think it would be a one-time fee for that year that counts against your cap, right? And it would be like a bonus overage that comes in at the end of the season, right? And that's say, fine. Okay, here we have signing bonuses, yada, yada. So you have a trade bonus basically in your contract that says, if you're traded at any time, this is when it enacts. Otherwise, it doesn't count against cap. I actually wouldn't, because it's pretty simple to do. Yeah. Right? And then the team knows we want to get rid of the player, but you know what? He's getting something out of agreeing.
Yeah, because all that player is getting is aggravation, uplifting his life, moving out of where he lives, upsetting the family, like all of it. Like these players, like they're human beings. Like they appreciate job security and being able to stay in the same place and have their kids go to the same school and not just bounce around once they've hit that level in their career where they can have some stability. At least this compensates them for that. So you're not just saying, do me a solid. Do you a solid. Why? Uproot my life? Make my life awful? Make my life uncomfortable? Maybe separate me from my family? Just so you can open up some cap space? Kick rocks. I don't mind it at all. I don't mind Dougie Hamilton exercising his, not waiving his no trade at all. I'll tell you what, there are some, I remember Kelly, I'm not telling tales out of school because Kelly's talked about this publicly. Kelly Rudy, I'm not sure if he's changed his feelings on this one, but because these are negotiated in good faith, Kelly doesn't even think you should ask a player to waive a no trade. That you shouldn't be able, because again, negotiated in good faith, you've given the clause, you can't ask for something back in exchange for nothing. So therefore, in Kelly's mind, and I'm not sure that I'm 100% with him on this one, but it's an interesting idea. You shouldn't even be able to ask a player to waive. Anything of that?
Wow, that would be, I don't know. You guys who have like 10-team trade clauses, like, hey, who knows what but if it works both ways, what if the player's like, oh my God, I hate it here. I didn't sign up for this. I thought we were going to be a playoff team, and 3 years in, we're not.
I get it.
Now he can't, it's got to be both ways then. So if you can't ask, then the players can't ask, and they probably wouldn't agree to that. So I'd be surprised if that happened.
Everybody's miserable. Like I'm with you on that one. Like I'm not, I understand what Kelly's saying. Like I appreciate it. And that's a very playerly point of view. And I get it. But that's too far for me. But a mechanism for compensating players, sign me up. Sign me up. And it relieves a lot of this tension and aggravation.
The Devils lose again. They lost to the Jets, who suddenly have won 2 in a row after losing 11 in a row. And Jonathan Toews has scored in both games. Kind of wild how things quickly. Domestikov scored. All these guys who couldn't score into the ocean suddenly have scored, and the Jets have won a few games. But the Devils have lost 4 in a row. The Devils have the worst goal ratio differential in the NHL. At minus 23, I think it is now. They lose by 1 today. What does Tom Fitzgerald do? Like they're just, how do you get out of this funk? Because they're now 6 points back of Washington and Buffalo for the final wild card spot, and Boston. And then you got Toronto and Pittsburgh at 51 points. The Panthers are at 49. The Devils are at 46. Only the Senators 45 and the Blue Jackets 43 have fewer points than them in the Eastern Conference. And everybody in New Jersey was expecting to be a playoff team. Now, they're not that far out of it, but 6 points when you got to leapfrog 5 teams is still much harder. Like everybody always uses the the Blues of 19 as this great comeback. I looked at it. 45 games into the season. The Devils have now played 45 games. St. Louis was 4 points out of the playoffs with 45 games to go in 2019. And then they went on a real big heater and went up the standings, got not even in the wild card, and everybody knows what else happened. But, you start getting 6, 8, 10, 12 points, 50 games left. It's a total different story, especially this year where every second game seems to be going to a 3-point game.
Yeah, it's and by the way, one other note on the Winnipeg Jets. What is it? 6 points in 6 games for Cole Perfetti too. Like I know Toews is a big story. And it's great to see him come around and start to produce. I still think Winnipeg needs a second line center like half the NHL, but good to see Jonathan Toews more productive and very quietly Cole Perfetti chipping in was I believe first start in that game Sunday afternoon against the New Jersey Devils. Look, man, it's bad in New Jersey, and a lot of players are having a lot of off years by their own standard. Like every team can afford to have like one of their top players have a bad year. You can't just you can't just all do it. You can't just do it all at the same time, right? You can't do it all at the same time, and it seems like if you're Tom Fitzgerald now, and listen, maybe this was addressed going back even, to last summer with Dougie Hamilton. It really feels like this isn't you can't just pick around the edges here to change something. Like I would always laugh when a team would have a bad game and the coach would be like, oh, we're not going to stand for this. We're going to do something about this next game. And you shuffle out a couple of guys on the fourth line. like just to signal that you're doing something, right? Or you do something with like the third pair defense. Like, okay, yeah, wow, that'll teach these guys. But does it not feel like the top mix is off? That there needs to be like a foundational piece that gets moved here, because that's how it feels to me. Like, listen, pick a player on the New Jersey Devils. They're all not having a good season, all at the same time. And you need to do something. Devils fans are like, peasants with pitchforks and torches at the castle gate. Like that, they're going to demand a sacrifice here. To me, it feels like they need to move one of the big guys. But the problem is, everybody knows that. Right? Everybody knows exactly the situation that Tom Fitzgerald finds himself in. Everybody knows the situation that Tom Fitzgerald has found himself in with all the no trades and the Gordian knot that is his salary cap. And no one's going to help him out. No one's going to do him a solid here as he tries to maneuver his way out of this. But it does feel like they need to do something big, and maybe need to do something big quickly here to turn this around, because this is ugly. This is ugly, and it's not as if the Metropolitan Division is the Central. Like, Metropolitan Division is still up for grabs.
Yeah, well, hey, speaking of ugly, the New York Rangers you get a 10 spot put up on them by the Boston Bruins over the weekend. They lose 10-2. They're like the Rangers, ever since it became public that they had offered up Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider, they have been one of the bottom 5 teams in the NHL, Jeff. And that was like 55 games. We're talking like 100 games now from when that happened. And you know what? Maybe the organization, maybe the GM knew, like, hey, we got to get rid of some veterans, but they're not the only ones. Like, at what point does an Artemi Panarin trade become realistic?
Well, certainly before trade deadline. It's got to be this year, because I don't think it's an extension for Artemi Panarin here. And that was like, normally when you see score, it's funny, we just talked about the New Jersey Devils, and they had a 9 spot put up on them. New York says, hold my beer. And they get a 10 put up on them by the Boston Bruins. I think that you're right now, if you're the New York Rangers, you're starting to see what the market looks like. Aren't you? Like, are you not like saying, okay, so what is Artemi Panarin's? Like, I know managers are always talking with one another, and you try to have like a loose idea of the value of your players on the open market. I would imagine that Chris Drury has a good sense of the level of interest and how much it would fetch back if he put Artemi Panarin out there. The other thing that I keep coming back to here with the Rangers, and listen, we saw it against the Boston Bruins. Can you imagine, to your point about Trouba Kreider and making that, if they didn't have Shesterkin this whole time, like how bad it would have been? Like, he has kept this team afloat almost single-handedly for all this time. And now you're starting to see what life without Shesterkin is like. And it's ugly. You have a goalie like that, it covers up so many mistakes. And that's all that I keep coming back to here with the Rangers. What if they didn't have the goalie? And at the end of it, they still have the goalie. I know he's hurt, but they still have the goaltender. So you're building from a position of hope. But much like the Devils, like, mix is off here. Like, I think we've seen enough evidence, and I firmly believe that the move to put the C on JT Miller was a move that signaled everybody that had boo-boo face about Kreider and Trouba, everybody that voiced those opinions publicly here, everybody that revolted and stopped playing here with the New York Rangers. We're building a new team here. I mean, listen, when does James Dolan talk? Never. But he was on WFAN and talking about culture change in the Rangers room. And I thought that Trocheck was getting the C. I think a lot of people thought Trocheck would be getting the C. By putting it on Miller, one of the guys Drury brought in specifically, to me, that's a play that says, this is the beginning of some change here, guys. Get used to it. And we're not putting.
Do you think Drury stays? He's the guy who's built the team that's terrible.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, listen, I'm with you. I know. I understand. But all I can go on is what James Dolan said about the coach and the general manager, that he is lockstep. And the thing is, like, not only did Dolan give the manager the vote of confidence, but he gave him the vote of time too. Like, he talked about culture change. That's not just, you better swap out a couple of players and get us to the playoffs. Like, when you start to say, like, he's doing something that takes a long time here, not only is Drury solid right now, but he's solid for a while. Once the owner is saying, hey, listen, we're undergoing something right now, it's not going to take 5 minutes. Not only is he there, to Dolan's mind, publicly anyhow, he's going to be there for a long time.
Yeah.
All you can do is go by the comments. All you can do.
How's that Keandre Miller trade working out for them? Whew.
I know.
Not good, man. So the Rangers, they're not good. The New Jersey Devils aren't good, and we won't talk about them lots, but we just want to shout out the Buffalo Sabres are suddenly good. And that 10-game winning streak, they lost one, and now they're starting another winning streak again. And the Buffalo Sabres, man, they've beaten some good teams. They're looking very good. And it's a fun story to me to watch the Sabres. So I just want to say shout out to them. The other team in the East, Jeff, that I know there's the off-ice stuff, and they addressed it with their now the last line of the statement. This statement will put it to bed. Not really sure that does it, but it is unfortunate that people how quickly people will believe anything from some no-name person who's been on the social media platform for a week, and people think it's true. But the Senators, this is almost like a distraction to how bad and disappointing their season has been. Ever since they got Brady Tkachuk back, and a lot of people thought, hey, you know what? They got through it. They got Brady Tkachuk back. Now they're going to go. They haven't gone at all. Basically the same team. And they need goaltending. They went out and got James Reimer. And who knows when Linus Ullmark's going to come back. But Ottawa is another team that people thought after last year would take another step this year. And they've taken another step. The problem is it's a massive one backwards.
Yeah. I thought Mike brought up a great point on the last rundown show where he talked about defending. And it's not as if they have a bad collection of defensemen, quite the opposite, but there's like a way that you have to defend in the NHL if you're going to be successful. I mean, you see this with the Stanley Cup is probably the best example. If you can't defend, and if you're not big and strong and tough on your back end, I'm sorry, the Stanley Cup is not coming to your city hall anytime soon. But goaltending has undone a lot of their hard work, right? And even before Ullmark took his leave, he was having a less than spectacular season. I'll tell you one thing about James Reimer. At least short term, we've seen him have some winning fairy dust, haven't we? Like every now and then, I'm not saying that James Reimer can play like 50 games in the NHL anymore. He can't do that. He's not going to be that guy. But short term, and listen, even most recently with the Buffalo Sabres, now you could say those were empty calorie games, end of the calendar, doesn't really matter. But he has shown the ability, at least in short spurts, in short term, to be able to have a little bit of goalie magic. We'll see if it can work for the Ottawa Senators here. I'm skeptical. No one's defeated age ever, especially the goaltending position. So I'm skeptical, but I lay so much of what's happened to the Ottawa Senators this year right in the 4x6, right in the crease. Defense isn't helping. Ruppers Point's the right one. But to me, all the good that they've done has been undone by goaltending.
It's true. It has not been good. And I don't know how you fix it. Like, I guess you hope James Reimer, you pull him out of the retirement bin and you hope it's going to help them, but they're going to have to turn it around super quickly. And like, I think their odds, like you look, Toronto's starting to heat up here. Pittsburgh's played great lately. The Buffalo Sabres we mentioned, Detroit and Montreal have been pretty consistent. And hey, JVR, when you dress up as Batman for your son's 4th birthday, your team's winning. That's just a no-brainer. That's awesome. That's going to happen for the Red Wings. But, like Ottawa's in tough, man. I don't see how they get out of it this year. Like, and then there's the Boston Bruins ahead of them. It's just, there seems to be too many teams for them to vault over unless James Reimer's going to come in and borrow Van Riem's like Batman and cape. And he might probably can't even be Batman. He probably has to go to the store and get the Superman cape if he wants to help Ottawa out of this fun.
You know what? Not to pour salt on an open wound or throw another log on the fire. Pick whatever metaphor you want here. This is the year that Ottawa has to surrender the first round pick for the Donov situation too.
Yes. That's so awful for them.
Even if the season just completely unravels and you say, well, at least we'll get a high pick.
No, they get no picks. No. Like, my God, what a terrible, terrible error that was.
But that wasn't, but that wasn't, not to relitigate, but that wasn't Andlauer. Like, I think he's got a real solid point on this one. I really do. Like, this wasn't this ownership. Yes. This wasn't at all.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like, I'm paying for the sins of the previous ownership, and they probably shouldn't be. That is a very valid point, Jeff. I would agree with that. Two teams in the West, and we will talk about some of the top dogs, but we're talking about the teams that are struggling to start the pod today. And I'll say one team, like, no surprise, more injuries crept up. That everything is coming up Canucks right now. I know that Canucks fans are probably like, what the hell are you talking about, Gregor? This is what you want. I'm telling you. Demko getting hurt again. Yeah, it sucks. And I don't know if he'll ever shed that in his career, because he just can't seem to stay healthy. But you do not, when your management can't force players not to try, they can't force them not to play well. You need injuries to some of your key players to help you stay and become a lottery team. Like, there's very few teams that are just terrible. Sometimes you need a key injury or two. Some are bad. But I look at the Vancouver Canucks now, and man, it is the road, the highway is wide open, Jeff. It is wide open. There's no one there. The only way that they don't have top 3 best odds to win the lottery is if they somehow decide to salvage this season as management and make trades and bring in some other players that they think can help them now. It'd be foolish. Your team is on a one-way street down to the basement, and you should just accept it, because it's the best thing that can happen for an organization that desperately needs some top-end players.
I just hope for their sake. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm in the pro rebuild camp for the Vancouver Canucks. I just hope that in their minds, they don't think it's just, we're going to get into the lottery for 1 year and then we're going to reconstruct this thing to try to get right back out. Now, because I'll tell you, and we'll see how players develop. We're dealing with 18-year-olds here, but if you're looking to find a savior for your franchise, a Macklin Celebrini or a Connor Bedard or a Matthew Schaefer, it's not in this draft. It's not. You're going to get no matter where you pick in the first round, you're going to get a good player. In the top 5, you're going to get a very good player. But if you're looking for someone to do what Macklin Celebrini has done for the San Jose Sharks,
but you know what's funny?
Do it.
No one said that about Celebrini when he was drafted. No one was saying this guy was going to be like this. Last year, Schaefer only played 17 games. People are like, oh yeah, good player. Like, I'm surprised how many have turned so quickly on young Gavin McKenna to say that he can't be a very good player yet. Like, I'm like, you know what? He might not, because it's hard to be that dominant. If that's the point, I would agree with it's hard. But he's been a pretty good player, man. And, you know, he went up to college at a younger age, which we don't see a lot of players do beforehand. And it's a tougher league. But in the second half, he's starting to look like he's figured it out a little bit.
I'll say one thing. It would have been really easy for Gavin McKenna to stay at Medicine Hat and put up ungodly numbers, just obscene numbers, where we're not even having a conversation about, is he going number 1? He could have done that. But he put himself in a more challenging environment. And let's never lose sight of this. He did this in his draft year. You know, I remember Noah Hannafin in his draft year, the Quebec Ramparts of the QMJHL were trying to bring him in. And I remember talking to someone from he's no longer with the Org Group / well, it was called Org Group then, now it's Wasserman. Talking to one of the reps that handled him there. Who said, look, the draft year is way too sensitive. He's not going to go to a new country, a new province, one that doesn't speak his mother tongue. It's just too many things that he can't control in his draft year, where all he needs to be focused on is hockey. The easy thing for Gavin McKenna to do would have been stay in the environment, in the league, understand that you're going to put up 200 points, smash some records along the way. That would have been the safe thing to do and erase any doubt about who should be number 1. I applaud the kid. Now, I know there's a financial side of this here too, Marek. I'm not dumb to that. But at the same time,
getting a lot of money.
Yeah, I understand that, and he's going to make even more money in the NHL for a long time. But at the same time, I really do think that there needs to be some applause for putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation in the most important season of your career to date just to test yourself. I think that's impressive. I really do.
Yeah.
Because the easy thing would have been to stay in the dub.
Yeah, I think a lot of people I've seen, it's hard to predict, man. No one thought Schaefer was going to be doing what Schaefer's done this year. It's amazing to see. And so,
I didn't think he'd be this good. I didn't think he'd be this good.
No.
I thought that he'd be number 1D in the NHL, but not like this. Not like this.
Yeah. So all I know is Vancouver, you know what? You got to stockpile a few top picks. So that's the best thing that's happened for them. Now, another team that's had a lot of top picks, they had a really good start, but oh my goodness, it's like they've hit the proverbial wall. The Anaheim Ducks cannot defend. You're giving up 4 goals a game.
Yeah.
It's impossible to win when you're averaging 4 goals against per game. Not many teams are scoring other than Colorado 4 goals a game. So the Anaheim Ducks, really since, their last 15 games, 16 games have been awful for them. They've only got 3 wins, and it's not like they're losing games and playing well, Jeff. They're getting spanked, and that's a concern because I think the Ducks were a team that a lot of people thought, hey, they would take a step and improve, but they took a step for 30 games, and now they've taken like 3 or 4 multiple steps backwards.
You're right about defending, and for a long time too. Like there have been people like within the NHL and the analytics community that have said to me all year long as I go on and gush about the Anaheim Ducks. Oh, look, they're so fun. Oh, look, they're legit. They finally arrived. They turned the corner, and here we go. Anaheim's going to be good for the next 10 years, and it's going to be awesome. Watching Anaheim and San Jose go head to head. This is going to be great. People warning me saying this isn't solid yet. There's still part of this that's a mirage. They've found one good pair on the blue line. That was Jacob Trouba and Olen Zellweger. That pair was really good. And Lucas Dostal was really good. That covered up a lot of mistakes for a long time, but that can only last for so long. Oh, and the other point that was always made to me is they still only have 2 lines. Like it's still an incomplete team. Like it is still a team that's like they've done the rebuilding part of it. Now it's just like now this team needs to mature. Right now, they've had 2 lines this year. They've found that one pair. Dostal can't channel his inner Terry Sawchuk / Jacques Plante for an entire season, and they've come back down to earth. Now the other thing is too. You look at like metronomes will overcorrect until they come back to their equilibrium. They swung way far on like this shooting percentage bender, like at the beginning of the season. And they had like incredible good luck. And now it's completely swung the opposite. Like, I don't think Anaheim was that team we saw early, and I don't think Anaheim is this team that we see now. I'm waiting for the pendulum to come back to equilibrium here after it overcorrects, because they were lucky one way and they're unlucky the other way, and the real team is somewhere in the middle, and we'll see where that settles. That's what I think about Anaheim.
Yeah, the biggest part of their learning curve is they just don't have enough experience on the back end. You've got Jacob Trouba, you got Radko, you got Gudas, but that's it. I love Jackson Lacombe's really good player, but then there's Drew Hellenson and Olen Zellweger and Pavel Mintyukov and Ian Moore. All those guys have played at least 30 games because Gudas missed, I think it was 15 games or 14 games so far. Defending is really hard. And if you have too much youth on the back end, eventually it just gets exposed. It just does. Like you're going to make rookie mistakes. You make rookie reads, and it's not a knock because that's what rookies do, and that's how you learn. And it might benefit them long term. But to me, that's another area of their game. Like there's no quick fix there. And I get you don't want to trade away young guys unless you're going to get a proven guy. You don't want to trade for a veteran who's 32 or 33 at this stage of the game. But the Ducks, it's been a bigger, quicker fall off. I thought they would come back to earth a little bit, Jeff, but my goodness, they were speeding down the highway and suddenly they've had both tires blow and they're fishtailing and now they're half in the ditch.
Yeah. And you're right. And now this is where the value of having someone like Joe Quenneville comes into play, right? Someone that's been out the door and around the block with a number of organizations. Like there's not going to be any panic from Joe Quenneville. There's not going to be, sky is falling, hair on fire. Like there's going to be none of that. This is where, again, the value of having someone like Quenneville around as your coach. This is where he earns it. Like, guys, we're going to pull out of this. Guys, we're not this bad. Were we as good as we looked in October, November? Probably not. But we're also not this bad. This is where you have like the veteran future Hall of Fame coach behind the bench. This is where Quenneville gets really valuable, I think.
Let's bring in Zach to the pod today, filling in for Pat Puff, who is out in Mexico and at a wedding, not his though, or at least we don't think it's his. Maybe he's sending us for a surprise when he returns. We can throw him out under the bus with him out there, put some more pressure on him. Zach, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Had a good weekend with Jeff. Got to see Yost Ice Arena for the first time myself, along with Jeff there. So pretty cool experience.
Go for it.
The Maple Leafs are 7-1-2 in their last 10, and they've won 3 straight here now. Buy or sell, they'll be holding on to a playoff spot when the NHL goes on break for the Olympics.
Ooh, Jeffrey?
Ooh, I still don't like the way they defend. I still have an issue with the back end. They have seemed to turn a corner here. I really don't like what I'm seeing out of teams like the Florida Panthers. So I am going to buy on that one, and the Maple Leafs will be in a playoff spot by the time we punt for the Olympics. What do you say, Griggs?
Well, if you went by points percentage, they would be just ahead of Washington, although the Capitals are playing as we record this, although they're losing to Nashville. But, well, you know what? It's no surprise to me. Their better players show up. Austin Matthews in the last few weeks is suddenly now making an impact in games. When your best player makes an impact, your odds of winning go up. That's a really good question because it's such a dogfight. You think about it. The Sabres, Flyers, Capitals, Bruins all have 52. The Leafs and the Penguins have 51. So it is ultra tight. 3 weeks. I looked at the Leafs schedule and they got a decent schedule. My concern still is they got a lot of road games, them being very good on the road. So I'm going to sell and say they are just out before we go to Milan. But I still think they'll get in at the end. I don't think it'll be that.
Next one here. Nathan McKinnon has 78 points in 44 games, and the Avs only have 11 total losses, 4 of which are in regulation. But buy or sell, the Hart Trophy winner is actually Macklin Celebrini, who sits 8 points behind McKinnon, has the San Jose Sharks from last place in the NHL last season to currently sitting in 3rd in the Pacific, 44 games into the season.
Griggs?
Yeah, I would buy if the season ended today, Macklin Celebrini would qualify to win the Hart because, hey, McKinnon's been unbelievable, but Marty Necas, so have Cale Makar. They've been pretty good. Macklin Celebrini is a one-man show right now. When you have more points than your second and third leading scorers combined, you're clearly doing it on your own. And so by the wording of the rule, most valuable to your team, it's hard for me to find someone individual. And other guys like, hey, Connor McDavid's on a heater right now. He's got 42 points in his last 18 games. He'd be like the leading scorer on 10 teams in the NHL right now, just based on 18 games, which is wild. So he's in the conversation, but Leon Draisaitl's on his team and is playing very well. Celebrini has none of that. So I think if it was today, and it probably comes down, like if the Sharks finish with 94 points and missed the playoffs by 1, he probably still could win the Hart. He probably wouldn't because some people view and say you got to make the playoffs to be in the Hart Trophy. And I understand that reasoning because it's like, well, if you're not there, then you're still a non-playoff team. So what's the difference? But man, Macklin Celebrini's season right now is definitely amazing. Like he's on pace for, I think, second most points by a teenager in the NHL history. It's pretty wild.
It's insane. For me, the answer is yes. It's interesting. Shannon Goldman of The Athletic mentioned something on the program. I think she's doing a piece on it this week. I should go and check. Maybe she's already done it. Making the case for Moritz Seider as a Hart Trophy candidate here. That should be an interesting one. But for me, it's Macklin Celebrini. No one has done, and again, like I know the idea that generally, and it's not written anywhere, it's not part of the definition of the award that you have to make the playoffs. This is one that we all sort of look at and go like, yeah, but you have to make the playoffs, right? Nowhere in the award definition does it say you have to make the playoffs, but still, Macklin Celebrini gets his team into the playoffs. Erase all doubt. He is doing this singularly. He is dragging the San Jose Sharks and all of their warts and all of their flaws into the playoffs. Where they go after that, I don't think we expect much, but still, he is dragging them into the playoffs single-handedly. For me, it's not even a question. It's a guarantee. It's the long-term deposit where the result is guaranteed. Macklin Celebrini ended today. Hart Trophy. That's my guy.
Greg's, earlier in the show, you said we're not going to talk much about this team, but I'm sorry, I'm going to make you talk about this team here. In the last 10 games, the Buffalo Sabres, they're 9-1. They've won 3 straight. You brought up the teams with 52 points. The Sabres sit atop the win percentage in that category, 605. As mentioned, Washington playing right now. Boston Bruins sitting up there as well, but they have a 565 win percentage. So buy or sell, the Buffalo Sabres will be legitimate playoff contenders this season and will be buying at the trade deadline this year.
Ooh, I definitely think they're playoff contenders. I like that part. Now you add a little juice to will they be buyer? Honestly, I think they will be. Now, they might not take massive swings, but Jarmo Kekalainen, I think that organization realizes the importance of just a playoff appearance. It's 14 years without playoffs for them. Longest drought in NHL history. And I saw firsthand the decade of darkness in Edmonton. It weighs on your fans. Like Buffalo fans are loyal, but there's only so much you can take. And you see them now. Like they are just happy to see their team competing. And they've won 13 of 14 games. And you know what? Like, hey, knock on wood, Josh Norris has stayed healthy now. That's a huge boost for them. Tage Thompson's playing well. Tuck's playing well. Their defense core. All of a sudden, everything's calmed down about all these players want out of Buffalo. Well, it's amazing what winning does. Suddenly it's like, hey, come to the rink. I'm feeling pretty good. I don't care. I had to shovel last night. It doesn't matter. We've won 13 out of 14. It fixes everything. So yes, they're competing. Yes, they're going to be buyers. I don't think they're going to swing massively, but I think he will look and say, you know what? I want to address a need on my third line or address a need on the back end. I think they will be buyers.
Okay, so let me throw this caveat out because I think that depending on what happens with the Alex Tuch contract, they could be both. Now, hear me out on this one. I think that if you're the Buffalo Sabres, you cannot let Alex Tuch walk. I know there's a few general managers that are saying, they're screaming at themselves right now saying, he's not walking for free. You're getting cap space. Give me the challenge of finding another Alex Tuch. I'll take that all day long. You're getting something. You're getting maneuverability within the salary cap. But if you're the Buffalo Sabres, you cannot let Alex Tuch walk for nothing. So I will say that they will be selling Alex Tuch by deadline if he doesn't sign a contract, but they will be buying in the sense that they're not doing this for picks and prospects. They're doing this for players that help them now. You know, you guys had a great conversation on the last show about the Josh Doan trade, the JJ Peterka deal, and that one. It's not even to history. Looks like right now, like immediate history looks at Kevin Adams and says, Buffalo. Good deal. Good. That's a really, really good deal for the Buffalo Sabres. So I think it's going to be a deal like that where you're buying players that help you right now, as opposed to what we've seen from the Buffalo Sabres. You know what? We're just going to trade them for magic beans and lottery tickets and hope that everything works out well, knowing full well that it won't. So this might be a Weasley way out of your question, Zach, but I can see the Buffalo Sabres doing both, and it revolves around Alex Tuch.
Interesting. I like that. Awesome. Great work, Zach. That's a buy or sell brought to you by Bet365. It's never ordinary at Bet665. You got to be 19 years of age or over. Be sure to use the promo code NATION, NATION. Now, Jeff, you started asking a question, so I'm going to ask you a few questions for fun here. In NHL history, there's been 10 instances where a player has had a point streak of 28 games or more. 6 players have done it. I'm sure you can guess which players did it multiple times.
Yes.
So I'll give you the easy one.
Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah. No, you're not Jagr. Gretzky did it 4 times. Mario Lemieux did it twice. So there's 4 other players who had a point streak of 28 games or more. I'll give you a hint. None of them are active. And they are all in the Hall of Fame, though. I could tell you the Matt Sundin's the only other player to even get to 30 with Gretzky and Lemieux. Steve Yzerman, Guy Lafleur, and Paul Coffey. So now my question to you is,
I would have thought Marcel Dion would have been in there. That's a surprise. I would have thought Dion would have been in there. Okay.
yeah, you know what? I don't even think Dion had a 20 gamer. I'm looking it up.
Really,
He did not. Yes.
Wow.
So now here's the question for you though. There are 3 active NHLers who have had a point streak of 20 games or more. One of them's done it twice. Do you know the 3?
Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Nathan McKinnon. No. Nikita Kucherov.
No. Okay. Negative on all 3. McDavid's career high is 18, which he's on right now. He just set that last game.
Oh,
Draisaitl's also being 18. McKinnon did get to 19 once, but never to 20. Actually got 19 twice. Pat Kane had a 26 gamer in 15, and then he had a 20 gamer in 2019. Sidney Crosby had a 25 gamer way back in 2010. And the most recent one, Mitch Marner, 23 games for the Leafs in 2022. So my question is, Connor McDavid's at 18 points now, 18 game streak. He's got 42 points in the streak. He's already got more points than all of those guys, except when Crosby had 50 in 25 games. So he would need 8 in his next 7 games to pass Crosby. So my question is, does McDavid, his next 2 games, he's got Chicago Monday, Nashville Tuesday. Does he reach 20?
Yes. Absolutely.
25?
Absolutely. Who are the teams you have in front of you?
Okay, so they play Nashville and Chicago, so that gets them to 20.
Yeah.
Then Islanders are 21. Islanders are 21 at home. Canucks are 22 on the road. Then you got the St. Louis Blues at home, the Pittsburgh Penguins at home, and the other one I got to look it up. I might be Columbus. So that would get them to Washington. Sorry, that would get them to 25.
Okay, I mean the one there that would give me pause right away are the Islanders, just because of what we're seeing from Ilya Sorokin.
Yeah, he's been really good.
Like that's
Dave Rittich was actually pretty good.
That's 100%. Yeah, completely. Yeah. So, geez, 25, eh? I mean, here's the thing. I gave up betting against Sidney Crosby a long time ago. Right around the same time, I gave up, betting against the Tampa Bay Lightning and saying like, oh, they're done. Oh, they're finished. Oh, that's it. It's the beginning of the end. You're not going to see them anymore. Like that's it. Like the way McDavid is playing right now, we've seen before. You're right there. You've seen it up close and personal. The way McDavid is playing right now, it's that inspired beast look in his face every single game, every time he scores, every time it's a big play. So right now, this guy has, you see it every now and then with players. When they hit their stride, oh, it's such a great thing to watch. The only thing that gives me pause in this streak of games here is, does he run into Sorokin? Because Sorokin can shut a goal scorer down, shut a whole team down, as we've seen numerous times. And right now, Sorokin is on an absolute heater. That would be the one that would give me pause. Other teams, yeah, I can see McDavid dancing all over them. I don't know about the Islanders though, and it's all about Sorokin. But you know what? I'll tell you. The one thing that I've been thinking about during this most recent Connor McDavid streak, and it's spectacular, is what Jay Woodcroft told me a few years ago when I interviewed him for the old 32 pod. We were talking about McDavid, and he said, "Listen, I want you to understand something. Like, don't become numb to this. Don't be numb to what you're seeing just because you see it a lot out of Connor McDavid." He really wanted to stress, what you're seeing is something incredibly special. I know we're all used to it. It's like, oh, yeah. Connor goes end to end, pops the water bottle, ends up with 3 points. He's a first star again. I always have to catch myself, maybe you do too, to not be numb to it and just go like, oh yeah, it's just Connor McDavid. This is amazing what we're seeing out of Connor McDavid. Like, you dream that you have a player like this in your hockey lifetime, like in your hockey fandom lifetime. So I've been thinking about that a lot, like not being numb to it and not going like, I got a choice between a few games. Yeah, I've seen McDavid enough. We haven't seen McDavid enough. Like, don't be numb.
Yeah. No,
understand how great this is
totally valid.
and appreciate it.
And really, 20 game streaks are not nearly as common as I thought they'd be. Like, just to get to 20, there's only ever been 31 of them, and Gretzky's did it 7 times. And then you got a bunch of guys, Adam Oates, Brett Hall, Mario Lemieux, Guy Lafleur, who did it multiple times. And then lots of other guys who are really good who just did it once. And it's difficult to do. And, I think Bronco Horvath was the first player to do it back in 1960 when he got to
with the Hawks.
22 games with the Bruins, actually, in 1960 is when he got to 22 games. And like, it's wild to think of how many games and the league, and even in the high octane years, like a lot of things have to go right for 20 straight games to get a point. You mentioned, hot goalie here, you get a bounce. Sometimes you get an empty net goal, maybe an empty net assist. Pretty much every one of these guys has done it.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think McDavid's never done it. Like this is a new high for him at 18. But the biggest difference on this streak than any other streak in his career. So Connor McDavid has averaged 4 shots a game once in a season. Back in 2023 at 4.29. That's the year he scored 64 goals. In his last 18 games, he has 19 goals and 96 shots. He's averaging over 5. He's almost double. In his first 27 games this year, Jeff, he had 75 shots. So that's 2.77 shots. And he said at the start of the year, I want to shoot the puck more. And he wasn't doing it for 27 games. And suddenly he's like, all right, I'm going to start shooting. And you see it now. Like he's shooting on odd man rushes more. He's on the power play. He's become a trigger guy a little bit for them. And it really changes because you would see at times defenders on a 2-on-1, they would cheat over to him, which is kind of a no-no. You always want to say, goalie, you'll take the shooter. I'll play it so it's not an easy pass, but I'll try to take the pass away. But now all of a sudden they're like, well, damn, I can't do that anymore because McDavid was always trying to pass on a 2-on-1. And I'm kind of curious to see how far it goes because you think about it, like we talk about 31 of them have happened 31 of 20. You get to even 25 games. Now you're down to 16. You get to 30 games. There's only happened 5 times and Gretzky did it 3. Like it's a hard thing to do. And I'd like to see how far they go.
One of the things I want, because none of this should surprise anybody when it comes to Connor McDavid. He decides he wants to score more goals. Boom, he's in the 60s. Right now, to your point about how much he's shooting and how much he's scoring on this latest heater, what did you say? 19 goals in 18 games. Don't be surprised. Connor McDavid is in this weird place where whatever his head wants to do, his body goes like, yeah, cool. Now we'll do that. Like it must be a wonderful way to live. It must be a wonderful way to play where your head says, let's do this. And your body doesn't say, hold on a second, I can't do this. His body just goes, okay, good. We're going to do that now. You know what I wonder about? Could you ever see, because I think that Connor McDavid has the skills to be any kind of player he wants to be. Would you agree with that? A shooter, a playmaker, if he wanted to completely change his game, he could be any style of player. I firmly believe that because he has that elite level skill set, vision, understanding of the game, all those things. Do you think he would ever go the Yzerman route? Remember when Steve stopped with like 130 points a year and cookies?
Yeah, but you know what? It's funny. I looked into that whole thing, and Steve Yzerman just got older, Jeff. And back then, athletes when they got older, in that in that era, they couldn't maintain it. Like Lafleur, Dion, like Gretzky was a little bit different, but all these other guys who had 6-7 straight 100-point seasons, then it would kind of fall off because you didn't have the nutrition advice they have, everything else. Connor eventually maybe, like there's been years where I think he's improved his defensive game, but he's so good offensively. Like he can attack in ways that no one else can. So I was going to say, funny enough, I'm like, I'm not sure he could ever be a Selke Trophy guy because frankly, I don't want him to be a Selke Trophy player. Right? Like his skill and ability.
Either do I. But I always come back to McDavid and like Connor's been consistent about this. when he says, "I'll do anything to win the Stanley Cup." Case in point, look at the contract he just signed. Like, I'll do anything to win the Stanley Cup. Does that include, to your point, becoming more of a sulky player? If it can lead the Oilers to a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I think it could, but if it limits his offense, I'm not sure it helps you win that much, right? Like, I think if you could be good both ways, but like the Selke Trophy, I know it's come for better guys. But ultimately, like even when Yzerman won, he won because they had Brendan Shanahan and Nicholas Lidstrom and 8 other Hall of Fame players on the team that you just can't have right now in today's NHL, right? Like, yeah, it was great that Steve was able to be good in defensive because he's like, well, we got Brett Hull and I got Sergei Fedorov and I got Nicholas Lidstrom and I got, go down the list of guys that I have. So it's a little bit different that you can't have all those players in today's, well, just because of the salary cap, you can't do it. So, and like, you know what's funny? Like, I look at other sports. It's funny that they talk about like the NBA and these other leagues. I think they still promote their superstars better. Hockey as a general thing will be like, oh yeah, but he hasn't won. Rather than, okay, you can't win the cup in the regular season. It's the dumbest argument to ever bring up. It's so stupid. I'm like, guys are playing great. Well, Nathan McKinnon's only won 1 cup and yet, so what? Nathan McKinnon is an absolute superstar and you want to watch him play. And I don't know. I find it odd that there's so many people that like the NBA superstars, they talk about them and they're great. And, no one talks about, hey, Steph Curry hasn't won a championship in 7 years. Like he's the greatest shooter ever. And they keep talking about he's the greatest shooter ever because that's what he is. He's the greatest shooter ever. It's not that, but there doesn't always have to be a but in hockey. And it seems that buts, like guys are having great years and everyone's like, but. No, but nothing. Right? This isn't Fred Flintstone. Yabba dabba. It doesn't, like, who cares? If you want to get to the postseason and talk about cups, that's when you talk about cups. You don't talk about cups in the regular season.
That's interesting about the Stars conversation. It's probably for a bigger conversation at a later time.
Yes.
But one of the things that I've always wondered about too is, are the Stars on the field of play enough in hockey? Because they are in baseball, they are in football, they are in basketball. Right? In hockey, in a 60-minute game, you're going to see your Stars for 20 minutes. If there were shorter benches, would that address that? Now, the Players Association is never going to go for this. It's going to be a big fight. But is one of the issues that you go to watch Connor McDavid and you only get to watch Connor McDavid for 1/3 of the game?
It's a great question. And I've thought about it lots. And now they'll never agree to it, and I agree. But if the AHL for years, Jeff, had 10 or 11 forwards, right? Did it for years.
Yeah.
And so you could do it. Like in the NBA, are your superstars going at Mach speed every time they're on the floor when they're playing 36 out of 48? And then in the playoffs, they're playing 40, right? They're not. So even Connor McDavid at 90% is more entertaining than your fourth line players. It's not a knock on the fourth line players. It's just a fact. Yes. And I agree with you. It's something that I've always thought. You go to 10 forwards because somebody gets a penalty or whatever. I do think it would be better. It'll never happen, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
But you know what else you would introduce? And again, like I'm going deep into this one here, but watch this. You know what else it would introduce? Something that used to happen in hockey. And the mistakes are coming from fatigue, which doesn't exist in the game anymore.
Yeah.
Which doesn't exist in the game anymore. Right?
Yes. A little fatigue
back into hockey.
Always. Yeah. Always leads to mistakes, mentally, physically, for sure. It's good stuff. Jeff, quickly. Hey, did you spend some time with Berenson or what?
Oh, dude, I got to meet Red. I've talked to Red a million times, like on the phone, on the radio, on a podcast. I've talked to Red. So I went to, as Zach was saying, we went to Yost Arena to go watch the Wolverines play Notre Dame. Tilted rink. Michigan's a top team in the country, and they won 7-4. But got the highlight of my weekend, outside of hanging out with Zach, which is always fun, is I got to meet Red Berenson. And you know what we talked about? And it was beautiful hearing him talk about this guy. We talked about Glenn Hall And he sat there we spent the entire first intermission. And I just said, like, hey, Mr. Barons, condolences on the passing of your friend. And he just started talking about like all the stories that some of the stories we've heard before about Glenn Hall, throwing up before the game and in the intermissions every time. And he said, the guys, we'd all make fun of him and all that, but he was the best goaltender. And just very specific stories about him getting pulled out of net and how he would just like leave warm up if someone shot a puck that was too high. He hated curved blades. And, anytime a puck would come up high, that was it. He was bailing. I don't blame him. I don't think anybody would. But it was great. It was great. We shot a bunch of interviews. Brandon Naurato, the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, Michael Hage, Montreal Canadiens first round pick, Malcolm Spence, the second rounder of the Rangers. Sean Horkoff's son Will, first round draft pick to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and TJ Hughes, which is a name you'll hear a lot, Greg's, at the end of the season as a college unrestricted free agent. Saw him at the Spengler Cup on that USA college prospects team that played at the Spengler this year. He was part of that, so that's a name you're going to hear a lot of. And unique to him, like a lot of the college UFAs that get signed aren't guys that are big point getters, but TJ Hughes is. And that's why there's like 10 to 12 teams that are already on him and, with eyes to the end of his season and bringing him into the NHL team. TJ Hughes.
Will he score? Do you think he'll score as much as Quinn? Do you see what Quinn Hutson's doing as a rookie in the American League?
Holy jeez, he's torching it. He leads all rookies at goals, but he leads the entire league in goals. Yeah, I know. He has 21 goals in his last 26 games. Now he's a little bit older, but still 23. That's pretty good for him. Before we go, though, the Nashville Predators won again. They're 15-8 in their last 23 games. But the great stat of that is most teams aren't great when they give up the first goal, Jeff. So I mentioned they're 15-8 in their last 23 games. They've allowed the first goal 18 times in that span. It's a strategy
and they're
now.
Still 10-8. They're still 10-8. So, you look at the Nashville Predators, who most of us thought they were done, dead in the water. With their win tonight, they are 2 back of Seattle, LA, and Utah, who are all, in a 3-way tie for the 2 wildcard spots. Technically, Utah's behind because I think Utah would actually move ahead now of LA. Well, the guys have fewer games played, but you look at the Preds, Jeff, and they've really kind of come out of nowhere here. So we'll end the pod with, are the Nashville Predators, can they continue this and make the playoffs?
Is there a U2 concert booked anywhere in the Nashville area that their head coach can cancel on? Because if there is, that will guarantee the playoff berth, Griggs. Go to U2's webpage and see if there's any concerts booked anywhere in the Nashville vicinity. That will listen. I'm happy for a lot of people there. I'm happy for, first of all, like Nashville, ever since their inception, have always been filled with quality people. Like the players are all wonderful too, but I'm talking like the behind the scenes people, a lot of really good people in Nashville that work at that organization. I'm happy for Barry Trotz. I'm happy for Steven Stamkos, who got his 19th goal of the season. Yep. I'm happy for Roman Josi. It is awful to be a captain shepherding a team through a season as bad as Nashville's was looking it was heading for the majority of this first half of the season. So yeah, this is great. It's a fun story. I know they might not be the most exciting team to watch on a consistent basis, but I'm happy that this market, where the building's going to undergo like massive renovations and, it's going to look even better than it does now. I'm happy they're winning, mainly because there's a lot of really good people in Nashville and it's a cool place to visit. Love it there. And it's great when Nashville's on the winning end of things. So good job. And it could make for a nice little story here down the stretch. We'll see. And what does this mean for trade deadline? What does it mean for trade deadline with Nashville, if they can pull this off?
Well, who knows? Because I thought if they weren't, Michael McCarron would be in a name a lot of teams would be interested in. Big, strong, right shot, fourth line center that a lot of teams would be interested in. So we'll see. Speaking of goal scoring, Alexander Ovechkin did get his 20th tonight, and he became now he's second behind Gordie Howe. He has 21 seasons where he scored at least 20 goals. He already owns the record most 40 goals, and he's tied for the most 50 goals with Bossy and Gretzky at 9. But he's one season behind Gordie Howe for for 22 seasons of 20 goals. So just another little small caveat. If Ovi wants to own every goal scoring record or share every goal scoring record, he could come back for another season and score 20 again. So don't rule it out.
But here's the thing though. If he comes back for one more season, you know what we're all going to be talking about? Well, look how close he is to 1,000.
Yeah, to 1,000. Yeah.
Like, come on, Alex, like hang around for 1,000, bud. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which way he swings on this one, but there's a whole lot of new cap space in the system that if you're of the belief, and I am, I'm in the camp of Alex Ovechkin along with Sidney Crosby, maybe the two most undercompensated players in the history of the game based on what they've done to the value of their franchises. Does Alex just, line up at the trough and say, all right, I've come in under value for a lot of years. Now it's time that Dad gets paid here. But yeah, maybe. I am still of the mind that this is it for Alex, but I don't know. He hasn't said.
We'll see. Jeff, have a great one, man. We'll chat with you next week. That's the rundown is always brought to you by Bet365.